Hello. Before I begin, I just want to disclaim the author of this book, Norman Finkelstein. He writes from the perspective that the Holocaust took place the way that historians say it took place. Adolf Hitler, Nazi Germany, mass murdered 11 million people, 5 million Gentiles, 6 million Jews, gas chambers, skin into lampshades, fat into soap, the whole 9 yards. I personally don't agree with the official story, but the book isn't about whether the official story is the real version. It's about how the Jewish community uses or takes this one incident in history and then exploits it for their own personal gain. So that's what the book is about, and that's what this video will be more about, more so than whether it did or did not happen the way people say it happened. It's only 5 chapters, and well, the first and the last chapters are just the introduction and the conclusion chapter, so the body of the book itself is only 3 chapters, so it's a pretty quick and easy read. But the one of the themes that he touches on is the whole idea of Holocaust uniqueness, and what this is obviously other people and other groups have experienced hardship and persecution throughout history, and but what the Jewish community does, they take the mistreatment of Jews by Nazi Germany, and they elevate this incident to something greater than all other incidents, all other atrocities. It's the atrocity by which all other atrocities are measured. And there's a lot of different things that are unique about the Holocaust, or unique about the way we treat the Holocaust, that don't apply to other incidents. Primarily the laws throughout Europe that will put people in jail for 5-10 years just for questioning the official version. That's something that doesn't take place with any other historical event that I'm aware of. People are sitting in prison for 5-10 years, not because they raped, robbed, or murdered someone, but because they had the audacity to question the official version of an historical event. A lot of people who think these laws make sense, they make the argument that it's done to curb the spread of anti-Semitism throughout Europe, or something to that effect. I've had a couple of people tell me that's the justification for the laws, and I'll get on that in a minute, but there's just absolutely no reason for it morally. There's no reason for a law such as this. People shouldn't sit in prison because they have unpopular ideas. There's no other word to describe it but immoral. People should sit in prison when they pose a threat to society, not because they have the ability to, or the audacity to think for themselves. That's not a crime, and it shouldn't be one in any nation. Academically, it doesn't make any sense, because if there was the mountain of evidence, and I've talked about this in another video, if there was such a mountain of evidence to support the official version, then there would be no reason for laws to prohibit people from questioning that. The existence of this mountain of evidence would be open, and both sides of the discussion would be able to have a legitimate and open debate on it. And if the official version were the true version, then that would be made obvious by the mountain of evidence supporting it. There would be no reason to tie the hands of those who dissent from that official version. And so far as it curbing the flow of anti-Semitism throughout Europe, there's been polls done recently. I don't have well, I guess I could post links to them, but it shows that quote-unquote anti-Semitism is on the rise throughout Europe. So if you have laws that are put into place to curb the flow of anti-Semitism, and yet you have anti-Semitism spreading anyway, then logically, from a policymaker standpoint, it's not solvent. It's a law that's not doing what it was intended to do. So if there's no moral basis for these laws, and there's no academic or intellectual basis for these laws, and there's no logical or policymaking solvency justification for these laws, then why do they continue to exist? They continue to exist because there are people who want them to exist, and they are unable to present a cogent argument to defend the existence of these laws, so they just, a lot of knee-jerk reactions and one-liners instead of arguing the points and the facts presented by the opposing point of view. The other part of the book, it talks about the, a double shakedown is what it's called. And it talks about a lot of people, a lot of Jewish people, seems like every Jewish person over the age of 60 is a Holocaust survivor, and it actually gives examples of people who just call themselves Holocaust survivors because they, even though they never saw the inside of Auschwitz or any other camp, they just happened to be of a certain age and were in the general area, and they felt as if they were persecuted. So the whole name or classification Holocaust survivor has been expanded to include pretty much any Jewish person over a certain age who calls himself a Holocaust denier, a Holocaust survivor. And because of the ultra-sensitive environment that we live in, to question somebody on that, even if it doesn't make any sense, is the ultimate taboo. But if you look at this from like a deeper level, the whole idea behind this, it's taking this and it's become a religion for non-religious people. Historically, when the Jewish community existed and operated within Christian society, they could always fall back on the whole "we're God's chosen people" line, right? And that works on an evangelical Christian because that's part of their doctrine. But how do you convince agnostics or atheists or Buddhists or Hindus or any other group of people that don't believe that Jews are special, that they're better than everyone else? Well, you create in something like this, a myth like this, or since it took place, you exploit this thing that already had happened, and you elevate it to the status of a religion, so that people who are not Bible readers or something like that are equally less likely to question the Holocaust as a religious person is to question whether Jesus walked on water or Noah built an ark. It has all the same elements, and that's what it's designed to do. It has monuments and shrines. These Holocaust Museum, it has its own saints, these Holocaust survivors, and so forth. And that's pretty much all it is. It's turned into a religion for the non-religious people to allow the Jewish community to exercise the same amount of control over the non-Christian community with the Holocaust that it has historically exercised over the Christian community, with the idea of them being God's chosen people. It says the same thing. We're special. Our life is more precious than your life. Our suffering is more tragic than your suffering. And that's the underlying theme of the whole Holocaust industry itself. And also it talks about the Jewish organizations themselves. I know about a decade ago, you remember the whole thing with the Swiss banks, they're profiteering off of slave labor, and you remember the whole thing about the Swiss banks and the Holocaust and so forth. It goes into great detail in that. That wasn't my exact favorite part of the book, but the larger point is what we have is Jewish organizations who sue, and they also sued a lot of poor Eastern European nations as well, which didn't receive a lot of media coverage. But what they do is they get these huge settlements, and instead of it going to the individuals who survived the Holocaust, it goes to these Jewish organizations like the Simon Wiesenthal Center or something like that, and they use the money to build these monuments and to have these Holocaust education and sensitivity training is what they call it. That's what it is. So you have people who just happen to be over a certain age claiming to be Holocaust survivors and no one questioning. You have people that were not directly involved, even if the Holocaust did take place exactly as people say, they weren't directly involved, being held responsible and being sued and money received from them. And then you have these organizations that take the money and build these little pet projects of theirs, and it doesn't even go to the individuals who allegedly suffered in the first place. So it's just one big, scam all the way around. And of course, they like to use the Holocaust to shield themselves from criticism about what the Israeli government does in Gaza and the West Bank and Palestine and all those things. But I'm running out of time, so I don't have time to get into all that. But all in all, it's a good book, and highly recommend it. Thanks for watching. A link to a copy of this book can be found in the sidebar.